Hi everyone, my name is Martinique Brown and I am the owner and founder of Today I Want to Be. We are solving the problem of kids and youth not seeing someone who looks just like them in a variety of career fields. We are a career exploration resource for parents and educators, and through our interactive products and virtual interviews, kids and youth are able to see representation of their race and gender in career fields that they may not even know about. With every product we create, from our educational aids to our apparel and accessories, we are intentional about encouraging and helping kids and youth see that they can become anything they want to be. We are the only company who not only focuses on career exploration for kids and youth, but we also give them an opportunity to ask professionals about their careers every month during our free live virtual interviews as student co-hosts. If you are looking for a company that is dedicated to helping your child or student see that they can become anything they want to be, make sure you visit todayiwanttobe.com today. Calling all authors and publishers. Did you know Everything Authors has a free downloadable directory of platforms you can promote your book on? No longer will you have to search multiple places to market your book because you can find them here. Download your list today at everythingauthors.com/free-resources. That's everythingauthors.com/free-resources.
on, kiss your brain. Be a teacher like Miss Joseph. Very good. I see. Or you could be, who remembers? Say, I can be a social worker. Yes, a social worker.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Authors to Know and Their Books to Read. I'm your host, Martinique Brown. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to tune into the show today. I'm really excited about our author, Dr. Velma, who has written a book called The Wrong Catch. Now, you guys know that I love talking about relationships, and Dr. Velma has been married for 49 years. I'm telling you, Dr. Velma, you look so good. You wouldn't even think that you've been married that long. That is crazy. What is one word of advice that you would give somebody that is looking to be in a healthy and long-term marriage?
Wisdom.
How do we get it?
That's what we're going to talk about. Use wisdom. I didn't want to use the word use because you said one word, so use
Uh-huh.
wisdom.
I got you. So now, if this is you guys' first time ever tuning into the show, make sure that you go ahead now so that more people will know about Dr. Velma as well as her books. And so they know more about the show as well. So now I'm always going to be referring you guys to the description box because that's actually where you're going to be able to see all of Dr. Velma's social media handles as well as where you can purchase her book. Now, right there next to the dollar sign is actually where you can click on the link and you can see all of the books that she has written. But today we'll be talking to her book called The Wrong Catch. So happy Juneteenth, Dr. Velma.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now can you tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a published author?
Yes, I've been writing as an author since 2018 when I published my very first book. I now have 15 books out, but I've
Mm,
been writing most of my career as a deputy administrator, working for state government, except the problem with working for them is I had to carry their voice, their word, use their language, and
mhm.
when I began this journey, I had to discover my own. So since 2018 is when began writing.
Great, great. So now, like I said, go ahead and share this video now so that more people will know about Dr. Velma. Also, make sure you go ahead and post your questions in the comment field. Now, if you're watching from any other page other than Martinique Y. Brown or Dr. Velma's page, make sure you come to one of those two pages, or you can even be watching on Everything Authors on our YouTube channel, and I will be able to see your questions and your comments. Give us a shout out. We will not bite you. Give us a virtual shout out. So now, can you briefly tell the viewers about your first and second books of the Catch series? Because this third book, The Wrong Catch, is actually a part of the Catch series.
Yes, when I began this journey, my plan was to write one novel. That was it. That's the black one you see behind me, The Catch No One Wants. And
Uh-huh.
I began that journey, and as I used the fish analogies to describe the wrong kind of men to date, and my focus is on dating for marriage, not just
Mm,
jumping into the dating pool because, but you have a goal in mind. You're dating with intent. Your goal is to discover who that person is that you want to spend your life with. So I began writing that, and I wanted to write a Christian contemporary fiction book. I didn't want to write a nonfiction book because, after years of interviewing and meeting and having conversations with singles, I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I wanted to present it in the way that Jesus presented his stories as a
good.
parable. And that's what I did with the fish analogies. I wanted to just begin there. Readers so loved it, they asked me to write more. And so that's the reason The Wrong Catch has come to be, because the readers asked for more. The only nonfiction I have is book two, which is the white book. Did you see partially there? That's the nonfiction book because I felt that for those who wanted to do a deep dive, have more discussions
Mm,
around the stories that I use in the very first book, then I provided the scriptures and all the content, like over 50 scriptures concerning a fool. I said there must be a reason God gave us over 50 scriptures how to, describing a fool. It's either
mhm.
for us not to date one and not to marry one. So all of that is in the nonfiction book number two.
Great, great. So shout out to Miss Queenie Clem. Thank you so much for tuning in, Miss Queenie. Go ahead and share that video now. Now you actually have an upcoming interview with her, Miss, um, and it's in the description box as well.
Mhm.
Why were you thinking that you only wanted to make this a one and done book, though?
I was not sure how it was going to be received because you got to keep in mind in the Christian community, a lot of
Hmm.
Christians don't warm up to fiction. They prefer nonfiction, which is what my first book was.
Okay.
And then when I wrestled with the idea, okay, should this be fiction and will it um, resonate to people? And so many people have said, I dated that fish, I dated that catfish, I dated that sturgeon. I'm so glad you put these in there. Then I realized it was doing what it was supposed to do. It's actually speaking to people in terms of what the women went through with dating these kind of guys because
Hmm.
they haven't changed over the years. And I did a lot of conversating with men to get an idea of what their perspective was and about dating, and they confirmed that men have not changed. The fools have changed, being foolish, but the real men have not changed.
You know, that really doesn't give us much hope that they have not changed, because you would think as time goes on, then they would get better. But, it
No,
sounds like
what
they
it means is we have to use different tactics and different tools. And that's what I talk about in the book with the main character. She had to learn to use different tools that she ignored. Her father is a pastor, and she's the main character. Millennial,
don't.
did the college, got that, got her career going, and she said, "Okay, I need to be married by 30." And here she is in the story at 32. just going through
Okay.
men very quickly, trying to find the husband she wanted. Now, there's a father who's a pastor who's teaching singles classes on how to take the right approach, but she's ignoring that, thinking, I can do it faster. And all it did was, you know, current dating process is only a couple of 100 years old that we use in the world
Hmm.
right now, and it just leaves people going through multiple relationships, and it leaves them broken and injured. Whereas dating for marriage, your strategy changes, your questions change. You don't have to be with a guy 2 and 3 and 5 years just to determine if he's the one. You can determine that in the very first question. Even my own daughter said, Mom, I'm so glad you gave me these questions, because the very first one, God
Hmm.
stuttering, can't answer it. I said, then that tells you to move on. And so it's
That
important.
that is so true. I'm telling you, it was definitely when I was online doing online dating. I definitely had my questions, and so the guys would be like, "Oh, this is an interview," and I'm like, "Yes, it is an interview."
Yeah.
And I had my list of questions, but I would ask them. I say, "Is it okay if I ask you these questions?" And if you couldn't get to past question 4, it's no sense
No,
of me asking question
don't
5.
waste your time.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know
yeah.
why he's there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Yep.
think my daughter said, the first guy said, I'm just looking to have fun. She said, okay, well, thank you. Shoot.
Yeah. And I appreciate, and can I tell you something, Dr. Velma? These
Hmm.
guys, they don't even lie anymore.
Mm-mm.
Because it used to be, oh, they'll lie to you to get in your pants. They don't, it's too many females
They
out
don't have
here.
to.
They
They
don't
don't
have
have to.
to. They don't. The
It's
females
made
is
easy.
too many females that's willing to just give
Yep,
it to them
that's the
like that.
bottom line. And
So,
that's not the group I'm talking to. That's not
okay,
my audience. My
got
audience are
you.
the ones who are serious about discovering who their mate is. And those are the ones that have to have those hard questions ready, because
Hmm.
commitment should be shown in the very beginning, even in even in their answers. And there are
Hmm.
guys that will do that.
Tell us
But you
again. Give us hope.
there are guys that will do that. I've talked to some of them. But
We
you
need
got
to.
to be, and here's the key. When I asked my daughters about it, and I said,
Uh-huh.
okay, but the key is, if he walked into your life right now, are you ready? And they both said no. And that's also the message in the book. The father had to encourage his daughter, okay, you need to get ready. You need to
Hmm.
make sure that you are the best version of you for him, because
Yeah.
they're looking too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So shout out to D. Blair Gold as well as Jacqueline Cox and Ellen Ann Smith Sutter. They said hello, ladies. Hello, hello. So now D, you made an interesting. You said the book sound interesting. It is interesting. So D and the other ladies that's watching and gentlemen that's watching, make sure you go to that description box, because right there next to the $sign, you can actually click on that link, and then you will be able to read the book summary of The Wrong Catch, and you will also be able to see all of the other books that Dr. Velma has written as well. So, Dr. Velma, can you walk us through The Wrong Catch?
Okay. The main character is two characters. It's Pastor Grayson, the father, and his daughter, Veronica Dawson. And the
Mhm.
story opens up with his concern that he's watching his daughter date the wrong men. And fathers cringe when they watch their daughters dating guys that they know good and well are not going to um, muster
Meet
up the
there.
right
Yeah.
characteristics that he wants to see in him. And so
Mm-hmm.
he asked God to he prayed. He said, Lord, show me what to do. Show me how to intervene with my daughter. So what his response was in his answer to prayer was to use what he knows. And what he knew was he's an expert at fishing. So he decided to take her
Mm-hmm.
on a fishing trip, which they used to do when she was younger. And he created these stories around the fish that he was accustomed to catching, the catfish who loves garbage. So those are the kind of men that are gravitated to the woman who doesn't have who has poor self-esteem, who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
see her worth as much. There's the sturgeon who likes to nibble everywhere he goes. That's what he does. He's not committed. The salmon who
Mm-hmm.
hates to commit and makes it very clear, and yet women will gravitate towards him thinking they can change his mind, and he's not going to change his mind. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the puffer fish who is handsome until you agitate him. He puffs up 3 times his size and he becomes poisonous. So that's an example of a toxic relation. He's very
Mhm.
successful, got a lot of money, but what good is that if he's
Mhm.
toxic when he things don't go his way? And so those are the examples of the type of men she dated. And as he begins to tell these stories, she recognized each one as he told them to her, that
Mhm.
she was thankful she got out of those situations before it became something that she really didn't want. And then of course he presents the goldfish, which I'm not going to tell you about that because that's the spoiler, but that's the
Okay.
one that he presents at the end.
Okay. Okay. So I when I was reading, because D said how clever, and when I was reading the book summary, because I was like, first of all, who is Grayson and Veronica? And I was definitely about to send you a message about that. But then I kept reading it, and I was like, oh, he's teaching a conference. I was like, that doc,
Because
that Dr. V
at
is
the
on to
end, I can't
something.
tell you what happens to her, but she does meet her guy. And she announces it at church what her father did and tells them how he used the fish analogies to
Hmm.
describe the wrong men to date. And so it took off. People started talking about it,
I love
and more
that.
women wanted to know more. So this book is the actual conference because so many women wanted to have the same level of conversation that he had with his daughter. They wanted that too. They wanted to know more about the fish analogies he used. But in this particular book, he also introduces 4 new fish. And there's
Okay.
that's called the trophy fish. The trophy fish are the kind of men who feel that they are number one, and anyone else in their circle is like extras in a movie, including
Uh-huh.
you. And if God calls you to be his prize and his crown, how can he be the trophy? So
Hmm.
already something's off.
Right.
And so you got the trophy fish, and the two of the trophy fish are twins, but they take twinning to a whole new level in the story. They date the
Hmm.
same women because the women don't recognize the fact that they're dating two different men because they're identical twins. So
Mm,
those are
okay.
part of the trophy as well. So again, other lessons to learn, but the bottom line is you're talking about narcissistic men, and
Hmm.
that's what's in this in the wrong catch.
I'm telling you, Dr. Velma, I don't know if you have been thinking about doing this already, but I really think that these will, like in real life, these will be just great conferences.
Oh, it's coming.
I mean,
It's coming.
it is such a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things that Jacqueline Cox just pointed out, she says, I'm married, but Dr. V's books have actually been a great therapeutic
Hmm.
tool for us to use and helps us understand how to love each other.
Yep.
And, I know that people might be listening to the show and they might be saying, oh, well, I'm not single, but that's okay. This would still be a great book for yourself and the your partner, because just like Jacqueline said, these could be just great therapeutic tools or just great resources in order for you to either begin a healthy relationship or maintain that healthy relationship that you have. And I always say you don't have to wait until Christmas to gift somebody a book. If you feel that they are acting like a Veronica, go ahead and in a subtle way just give them this book so that they can see themselves within Veronica. Again, you go to the description box and click on the link that's next to the $sign, and then you can actually go directly to that Amazon.com site so that you can actually see all of the books that Dr. Velma has written. So, what did you notice was missing from bookshelves that actually compelled you to write The Wrong Catch?
Well, it wasn't the fact that it was missing from bookshelves because I had to convince myself not to worry about a area or a topic that's flooded with books.
Mm-hmm.
I had to believe that the approach that I was going to use was needed right now. And that's
Mm-hmm.
based on 30 years of pre-marriage counseling where couples will come to you expecting you to fix a problem when you're looking at the problem going, okay, you were trying to marry the wrong person, and people
Mm.
not applying, wisdom when making that selection. People who are excited about getting married, the idea of marriage, but not really creating an understanding of what that's going to mean. Watching
Hmm.
people get out of marriage too soon, because rough patches will come, but you got to know how to manage those rough patches. And I think that's kind of where I was at the time, to be honest with you, Martinique, that I just
Hmm.
felt like there was a need to address all of that. And I like Jacqueline's comment, because sometimes marriages need a reset. Being married 49 years, don't think you were just existing every day. It takes work to
Hmm.
continue to cultivate and build what you have. And that's the key to it all.
So during your premarital counseling, what have you actually noticed from um, couples now that maybe was a little bit different from couples back then?
We don't teach it anymore. There's no sharing, because remember, there was a period of time when I'm grown. There was
Hmm.
that season that came along. I'm grown. Can't No one can tell me what to do. That
Hmm.
is an idea. That's a definition of a fool, by the way. Someone
Hmm.
who has shut out any kind of wisdom and don't want to hear anything. That's a definition of the fool. And so what I'm saying is that marriage has declined since the 60s, and it's worse in the African American community. And a part of it is we got used to be taught and trained and prepared in the church, because when I wrote my first husband to be prayerless, it was the teacher at the church who said, "Okay, write your husband to be prayerless." I'm going, I'm only in the 10th grade. I'm not thinking about a husband. I'm thinking about graduating, going to college.
Hmm.
But the training and teaching in the church and all of that has fallen by the wayside. And I just wanted to find a way to just put the message out there, to, because even with the stories, there are tips and tools along the way. There tips, little nuggets of wisdom written in the books as well. So just it isn't just the stories and the analogies. There's some things that people can take and use along the way.
So you were intentional about writing those tips and tools in there like that, though.
Absolutely, but very careful not to use a lot of scripture, because it's fiction, and that's where I felt good about creating that nonfiction book. I said, okay, great. Now I got a place to put all my scriptures. If somebody
Hmm.
wants to know the reference, they can have it. When I mention over 50 scriptures that talk about a fool, I indicate some of those scriptures in there, and so that's why that nonfiction book, because a lot of people in the Christian community will want those references,
Hmm.
but in a fictional story, uh, you don't have it in there. Even with the parables, you don't see Jesus using a
Yeah.
reference when he's telling a story. He just tells the story. He
Hmm.
includes in the stories a way of escape, how you can change your situation, and at the
Hmm.
end, he leaves it up to the individual to make the change if they so decide to
Yeah.
do so. That's it. His job was done at that point, and I feel like that's what I wanted to do in these books.
That's good. That's good. So now, if you're just now tuning in, you are watching Authors to Know and their books to read. Right now, I'm talking to Dr. Velma. She has written a book called The Wrong Catch. This is actually the third book of her Catch series. If you are interested in purchasing her book or learning more about it, make sure you go to that description box and click on the link that's next to the dollar sign, and you will actually be able to see all of the books she's written so far. And then you can specifically click on The Wrong Catch so that you can read that book summary as well. Make sure you give us a virtual shout out, as well as go ahead and share this video now. If you shared this video already, please type share in the description box. Jacqueline says the homework book is so impactful. Come on, Dr. Velma. Are you paying Jacqueline? Come on, Jacqueline.
No, I'm not, but I love her.
I know that's right.
I love what she's saying.
Right, right. So now I know that you actually, thank you, Jacqueline, for sharing the video. I know that you actually mentioned that this is a Christian fictional book, but do you think that this book will actually relate to non Christians?
That was my hope. I
Okay.
didn't want to intimidate anybody. I didn't want to
Uh-huh.
hit them over the head with the scripture. That wasn't the goal. I just wanted to present the keys. And basically, if you have a key ring with a whole bunch of keys, it's worthless if you don't know what to unlock. And the fact that you have the answer to unlock something that maybe you're not sure about, that's all I wanted to do. And so,
Mhm.
look, this has resonated to the youngest, from the youngest to the eldest. I have a senior center here locally who were having discussions around this book. The women over
Mm.
there were talking about, hey, I met that catfish. Ooh, girl, I remember
Yeah.
that sturgeon. So that was the whole goal, is to make sure that anyone, no matter whether or not the person was familiar with scripture or not, that the stories would resonate to them.
That's
And matter
good.
of fact, my a friend of mine gave that book, the black one, to a girl who was stuck, a woman who was stuck in a toxic relationship. They couldn't convince her, the friends couldn't convince her to get out of it. But she read that story and she got out.
That's good. That's good. And
Hmm.
you know, the great thing about books, it's just a way of escape sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely takes you to another place, especially if you are able to get in a area that is, just tranquil to you, and maybe light some candles or something. But it really takes you to a different world, and it's just such a blessing that your books are able to do that, and also just bring hope, to people as
There
well.
is hope.
There
I
is
talked to
definitely.
some of those guys. There's hope out there.
That's good. You should just start it. I'm just saying, Dr. Velma, another great idea would be you should just start some type of, like, since you already know these men, there's a lot of women. So maybe you could, like, have a virtual something.
I plan to. That's the goal. But I
Okay.
first have to get book 4 done.
Okay.
And
So,
there are men who are reading these books too. And they approach me asking, when are you going to talk about the wrong catch when the women are the wrong catch? And I
we
said,
never the
that's,
wrong catch. What are you talking about? We are never the wrong catch. Tell
I'm
them,
an
ladies, we
equal
never.
employer, an equal opportunity writer. I've
Right,
met some that
right.
are wrong, who thinks that they're ready and they're not.
Definitely. So now you know that Dr. Velma just mentioned that she's going to also be releasing a book for. So make sure that you follow Dr. Velma. Her social media handles are listed in that description box. We have her link to Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as her Instagram as well. So I know that you mentioned to us that you've been married for 49 years.
Mhm.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you have been actually able to learn about these different type of men since you've been out of the dating game for so long?
Well, first of all, I knew some of these guys too, and as they say, the stripes don't change. They're
Mm-hmm.
still out there. And because of the fact that I have been, I'm also an ordained minister. So I've been counseling singles for over 30 years, been talking to women for a long time, and men, and just understanding what's out there and what's still uh, the challenges out there for both the woman and the man. And so it was important for me to be able to share some of this. And some of it has not changed. It's just kind of changed their stripes a little bit. But the
Mm-hmm.
dangers are still out there. That was the other thing that concerned me, is the fact that so many women put themselves in dangerous situations,
Mm.
which they don't have to. And and it just breaks my heart. One time I read a Facebook message where the girl was introducing a guy she had been dating for 5 years. Just, oh, we're so in love. I'm going, well, you don't know what you just said. He's had you on hold for 5 years
Mm-hmm.
with no commitment. That's not okay. And so
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things just sparks that side of me that says I really need to talk about this more, I really need to share this more. And that's why you're mentioning the conference is definitely right on point, because it has to happen at some time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you said that you offer counseling to singles. Do you offer that virtually as well?
I
Like people
haven't
out
yet,
the
but
state?
that's probably going to be something that will happen. I'll have to determine what will be out follow up to the conference, because I don't want to have people come to the conference and they don't have a way of connecting with me. So that's something I'm going to be working on, so that I can do
Okay.
more of the one-on-one conversations with them, because that's going to be part of the follow up. I don't Once I'm out there and once I begin presenting that, I definitely want to have those opportunities, because it was something you asked me once before, maybe it was a question. What's the
Mhm.
difference between a coach? Why is it important to have a coach or
Oh,
something like
that's the next question.
that? Oh,
Like,
let me stop.
what's the benefit of having a relationship coach?
Here's my perspective. When we were growing up in the African American community, we had seniors, people who had experience, who used to be those coaches. All that is
Mm.
now is, they were our guiding counselors. They were the ones that gave us guidance. When I hit a rough patch in my marriage, I went to my husband's 80-year-old aunt to get some perspective from her because she had been married for a long time. So
Mhm.
those were our coaches. Since we don't have that anymore, and we don't have a lot of the seniors we used to have, we don't always have the examples in the church to go to. And so now you have people who call themselves professional coaches. I just got the title because I thought it would resonate with people. If they knew I got certified, then maybe that will help them to understand I know what I'm talking about. If being married 49 years wasn't enough, then I got the certification for that reason. Even though, as an ordained minister, we are prepared to counsel and provide guidance to people, very similar to what life coaches do. So all a coach does is to provide guidance, and everybody needs to surround themselves with a tribe of supporters on your journey so that they can impart wisdom, give you some suggestions or guidelines as you move along the way towards that person that God has for you. And that's what's important. So that's why I got it. I just got it just to validate who I'm supposed to be and the lane that I'm in right now.
I never thought about it like that. When you said back then we just
Yep.
had maybe family members
Yep.
or even just friends that had been married for long periods of times and we
Experience.
can
Hmm.
ask them their advice on
Right.
something. Because honestly, Dr. Velma, I didn't start hearing about relationship coaches until
Yep.
I started doing these shows.
Yep.
And I wonder, okay, from my perspective, I think it would be very humbling to say, hey, I need a relationship coach. Do you think people automatically have that fear of saying, I don't need no relationship coach? I can get anybody. What's your
Well,
thoughts
that's
about
kind of
that?
that person we talked about earlier who says, I'm grown, no one can tell me what to do. Well, I said
Hmm.
that's not my audience, and that isn't. That's a
Hmm.
person who shuts out wisdom, which means they're going to make a
Hmm.
lot of mistakes on their own because of their choices. Wisdom helps you to avoid making huge mistakes. And
Hmm.
believe me, at 68 years old, I was shocked to realize, okay, wait a minute. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm my mama now. I'm that Titus 2 woman that says, elders teach the younger.
Uh-huh.
And I said, so what do I do with all that I've gained? And that is why I need to pour in to help somebody else. And that's why I do it. Because to me, it doesn't matter if you get a certification. If you don't have a marriage that's a
Mm.
long time marriage, forgive me, but I'm not listening to you. You and your 5 years in. I can't. Call me back when you get 20 years. Then maybe you can coach me.
And that was one of my posts. I posted that on one of my Facebook posts was, would you allow a relationship coach to coach you if they were not married? And some people said people that have not so much been married or in a relationship, because of their bad relationships, they can offer good advice. What do you think about
No.
that?
Unless you have a history of having been successful at something, there's nothing you can tell me. And so, no,
Mhm.
I disagree. That's just a certification unless you've got something that's been proven. And the reason I do what I'm doing now is because marriage preparation, are having a long-term marriage, that preparation takes place way before you meet that guy. Even when he comes in, you're building your marriage and you're building your life together as he walks into your life, and you recognize, the two of you recognize you have the same goal in mind, and you begin the process of asking those hard questions, having those conversations around what does the future looks like, all of that. So your journey begins way back then, not when you walk down the aisle and say I do. That's late. Anybody
Mhm.
can walk up to someone to officiate a wedding and say I do, but it takes
Mhm.
work way before you get there, because the work continues even after marriage. And so, unless you have that, you can't tell me anything.
I think that that's the one of the hard things to understand as a single woman,
Hmm.
meaning I'm not married, is the hard work side of it. You know, all we hear from married people is marriage is hard work. But I would think that because you're with somebody for so long, then maybe that first 1 through 3 years was hard work because you're still learning each other, you know, in that married phase. But what would hard work actually still look like 5 years plus in a
Well, let me say,
marriage?
let's remove the word hard
Okay.
because every garden requires cultivation. You still got to pull the weeds out. You still have
Hmm.
to unearth the things that's attacking your flower or your
That's
plant.
good.
You still have to provide it nutrition. That's the kind of work I'm talking about. I'm not talking
Hmm.
about, oh man, it's so hard to be married. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about work, meaning you're cultivating, you're pouring into it. You might be
Hmm.
facing something today that tomorrow you're not going to face. You have to understand what can come up against your relationship because there's still she wolves out there that doesn't care how many rings you have on your finger. She's
Hmm.
coming after your husband. There's all kinds of things that you have to be aware of and knowing how to love and protect his heart as he loves and protects yours.
That's
And so
good.
there's things you have to understand that it is a spiritual union. It's not just a physical one.
Hmm.
That spiritual union, you have the enemy of your souls that's coming after your unity in agreement. Now, how do you fight that? How do you fight something you cannot see, but you know
Hmm.
is there? You got to know how to do that. And that's the part that I'm talking about. You have to know how to manage your life together. You have to know who your real enemy is, and you're not the enemy to each other. But that unforeseen enemy will try to throw a toe hole in anything that you're trying to do because he
Hmm.
hates unity and agreement.
That's good. I really like that analogy about the weeds and the flowers because you know, flowers, some flower beds are just so beautiful.
Mhm.
But if you do not take care of them, those weeds,
Yep.
flowers start dying and
Yep.
it just start looking ugly.
Yep.
But you still got a flower bed. you
Have another
still in it,
chance,
you
right?
still in that marriage and it's looking ugly. But as a relationship coach, though, would you say that a relationship coach is only for singles or it can also be for married couples?
It's both. It's both because even a
Hmm.
marriage has to have a reset every now and then, just like Jacqueline mentioned earlier, using the books to continue to help her and her husband to continue to reset, look at things that they can continue to apply in their marriage. But everybody has to have a reset every now and then. And
Hmm.
so that's what's important. It's for both.
And what would you say to that spouse that says, you know, they're have an honest assessment about their marriage and maybe it's not going well, and they say, hey, you know, I think I would love to utilize Dr. Velma's services, but that spouse is like, we don't need no relationship coach. We're not doing that. Would it be beneficial for one spouse to be in this coaching, in these coaching sessions?
Sometimes I've offered a book, a tool that I use, and I had both my adult daughters go through the workbook even before meeting their spouse. My youngest daughter hasn't, she's working on hers right now, but my oldest daughter, she and her husband went through the workbook. It's a workbook that I discovered along our path that both my husband and I used as well. When we hit a rough patch and it was time to reset and really kind of look at where we are, we use the workbook, and I found this workbook to be so helpful. I make a
Hmm.
reference of it in my black book in the back of the black book because I think it's so beneficial. It's called Love is a Choice. And I think that if you can figure out why things get broken, sometimes it's brokenness that you bring along the way, which is why I encourage single women to lay aside every weight. Paul says to lay aside every weight and sin, which says that he separates the fact that some weights we carry around is not sin at all, but it's still weights. And you carry all of that into a relationship, eventually is going to manifest and cause problems. So if you deal with them early, that's something that's beneficial to your marriage later on. We didn't know about this workbook until we hit that rough patch. Once I discovered it, I buy extra copies and give them out. So my My statement would be to this person, you don't have to go and see a person. Pick up that workbook and you and your wife go through the workbook together. Individually, you're going to discover where the issue is in you as well as in her. Because two people in a marriage relationship, the problem becomes both. It's not just one person's problem, it's both their problem. And so if they're looking to find answers, that would be one way to reset.
But the question that I also want to just ask you is, what if the other spouse is not cooperative? They say, "Hey, I don't think anything is wrong with our marriage." Do you think it would be beneficial for just the one person to be in a coaching session or even do this workbook?
I would do the workbook and I would still have the coaching session just to have a conversation around it because there may be some suggestions they can do. One of the things that I always promote, and that is you have to trust God in that other person.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say the one thing that you want to get in the habit of doing even before you meet him is learn how to pray for him. My daughters were encouraged to pray for their husband even though they had not met him yet. You have to understand that he exists if that's what you believe. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe he does. You start praying for him. God, I know he's out there. Whatever he's going through, I'm asking that you cover. I pray that you protect. Whatever you want to say in that prayer to
Mm-hmm.
help him make right decisions, help his eyes to open to me when it's time. All of that make me ready for him
That's
so I can
good.
love him the way he deserves because everybody's love language is different. And so that's what you want to practice doing. And then when you get into the marriage, that prayer practice of praying doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing more powerful to me than when a man drops down on his knees, go on his face before God and prays to the one that's bigger than greater than him. That's powerful to me. That's romantic to me. That's
Mm-hmm.
manly to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's an alpha male right there. And
Yeah.
so that's what's important. And so you will continue to that. And there are some problems that are going to come, even if he's resistant to the plan of action. You have to trust the God in him and start praying that God will lead him. And guess who's going to
That's
speak to
good.
him? Because I tell women, you need to stop this. It's not for you to fix him, it's not for you to correct him. Let God do what God does best.
But Dr. Velma, you don't think it's nothing wrong with like bringing it up and then like seeing if he changed, and I'm still praying about it. Don't look at me like that. I feel it all the
The
way from
word,
California. I
the
feel the
word
look.
silent and listen. Both those two words use the same letters.
Felt the
If
stare.
that's something you're feeling, then ask God to set it up for you. If I'm to say something, set it up for me to talk to him. But unless
Mm-hmm.
he tells you, you need to just be quiet and continue to lift him up before God. Because men go through a lot out there in the world. They really do. They have a lot riding on their shoulders, and then they got to come home and got to hear what they are not to you when the world has already told them they fall short.
Yeah, that's true.
Someplace they got
That's
to go
true.
someplace to be built up and encouraged and motivated.
Hmm. Hmm. And we don't want them to go elsewhere to
No,
find that.
because Rocknisha
So
next door will help him.
well, she will. She will. And cook for him and all that other jazz.
Hmm.
But tell her to make me a plate. She want to be cooking for folks.
Now,
But
see, you just opened up another can of worm. Why do I have to cook? Yes, you do. You better start taking your cooking classes right now.
well, Dr. Velma, that's something I definitely pray about. You know, he cooks 3 days, I cook 3 days, and then we go out to eat.
That's something you guys can work out.
Yeah,
But you
that's how
better
we
know
gonna
how to
do.
cook and
I
not.
don't know.
I'm not talking to the microwave women.
He going nobody's gonna starve, Dr. Velma. Okay. Nobody's gonna starve.
Okay.
But listen. So, as a relationship coach,
Hmm.
what services do you, because you're in California, San Francisco, right?
San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay. So, what services do you offer for the people in San Francisco? And also, what services would you offer to our viewers that's not in the area that you can offer virtually?
Well, they can always reach out to me if they want to have a discovery call. I haven't gotten all of that lined out yet or
Okay.
set up yet because my website is in the process of being updated. And as soon as that's updated, there'll be an opportunity for them to set up a discovery call so we can at least have a conversation. And I'm so looking forward to that because right now I feel a little discombobulated with not having my website up and running like it should.
Yeah.
But when that happens, it can't. It will be one of the things I'll offer. What I can offer right now is they can feel free to reach out to me by email at info@drvelma.com. So that's all I have is the method to reach out to me right now, and we can always arrange a Zoom call to just kind of talk it through.
Can they use this vbagby54 at Gmail?
That's my personal email. So the one I'd like to use for those who would like to reach out to me would be info@drvelma.com.
Okay. I'm gonna type it in there
That
in
would be
the
great.
chat box. What is it?
And I'm sorry for the
Info.
inconvenience, but hopefully once I'm up and running with my website, you'll be able to connect with me a lot easier.
Tell me again, Dr. Velma.
Info
Info. Mm-hmm.
at drvelma.com.
Okay, Dr. Velma. Com.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. I just posted that in the comment section.
And that book, that workbook is called Love is a Choice Workbook. You do not need the book, just the workbook. And
And
it
this
deals.
is not your book.
It's not my book, it's my reference guide. It's what I would give to the person you mentioned that has a rough patch and need to um, figure out another way to fix what's happening because the spouse is not interested. But it also is the book I give to every single person to lay
Mm-hmm.
aside every weight because you don't know what you're carrying around until you uncover it. And it helps you by walking through it.
Okay, okay. That's awesome. So, you all, I thank you all so much for taking time to post your comments in the comment field and really just having a great conversation with Dr. Velma. I'm telling you, Dr. Velma, your book sounds so awesome, and I just know that it's going to be such a blessing to people because it is so relatable,
Hmm.
especially, when you have taken time to try to find the right person, then you get so frustrated because of all of the wrong fishes that you are meeting. And then you just like, Jesus, maybe singleness is what you called me for.
No.
And then like 6 months later, you like, okay, I'm gonna get back on the horse.
That's right. And you don't know he may have been saying the same thing. Where is she?
Yeah,
Just because
yeah.
she took a break. I couldn't
Uh-huh.
find her.
She had to get emotionally together.
Hmm.
But remember to continue to share this video so that more people will know about Dr. Velma's book, The Wrong Catch, as well as her other books. Now, again, if you're interested in purchasing Dr. Velma's book, make sure you click on that link that's in the description box right there next to the dollar sign, and you can
Hmm.
actually read the book summaries of all of her books as well. Dr. Velma has definitely shared with us that she is going to continue to be working on different projects as well as offer her relationship coaching services to us. So make sure you follow her on all of her social media handles, Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram. And those links are also in the description box. We definitely hope that you all have a great remainder of the night, and we hope that this interview has given you some hope to continue to trust in God that He will bring that right mate to you that will definitely lead until marriage. We will talk to you all later. Bye bye.
Bye.